Now this question says, on the grid, draw the graph of y equal to x squared minus 3x minus 1 for the values of x from -2 to -4. Now this will take us to a topic that I titled graph of quadratic function. Okay, now what do you need to know about graphs of quadratic function? Okay, now once you look at the x degree, that's the degree that x is raised to. For example, in this question you have y equal to x squared minus 3x minus 1. You see that this x is raised to the power 2. Just know that it's a quadratic graph that you're asked to draw. Okay, now for a quadratic graph you have to ensure that you try out many values of x, okay, to get the values of y. Don't just try one or two, because it's always a parabolic shape, parabolic in the form of something like this. Okay, it's not like a straight line graph that you can just plot 2 points or 3 points and then just join your graph. No, this is a quadratic shape. It always has to go this way and curved. It's not straight, it's curved. Okay, it always has to go take this curved shape. So you always have to ensure that you take more than 5 points on to make this shape. And then whenever you see x squared, you know that it's a quadratic shape. Now for this a value, okay, all quadratic graphs have this formula: y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, this is more like their general formula. Now if a is negative, for example, if you had y equal to minus x squared, maybe minus 3x minus 1, something like this. Once this one is negative, you just know that the parabola will be upside down. Okay, but if it's positive like this, you know that it's always up. If the first one is positive, it will be up, but if the first one is negative, it will be down. That's basically the two rules. Now one more thing again is that on this, now you know this is a quadratic equation, okay, or this is a quadratic term, and now this graph is actually used to find out the x values, okay, or to find the root of it. Now how do you find the root from this graph? Now let's say this is your x and y axis and this graph came this way. Okay, now don't mind my drawing. These 2 points that the graph touched the x-axis, they're your x values. They're the roots of the equation, and they're the values you're looking for. Okay, they're your x values, these 2 points. So you always have to ensure that the curve is adequate and straight enough. Okay, so you'll be able to get correct values of this. And the point now where the graph touched the y-axis is your constant value. Okay, that's the c. Okay, now that's the constant. So these are the 3 main points in a quadratic graph: this point, and this point. The point where it touches the y-axis and the point where it touches the x-axis. Now they might also give you, after giving you a quadratic graph, they might also give you a straight line graph and ask you to find the roots of the equation, or find the points at which the two graphs intersect. If, for example, this straight line graph is this way, okay, let's say that it went this way. Okay, that's after plotting it went this way. Now to find the roots, or the roots of the two equations, is going to be this point and this point. So we'll just trace this point to the x-axis and trace it to the y-axis. Okay, then also trace this point to the x-axis and also to the y-axis and to the x-axis. So we'll pick the 2 points, and that will be the solution of the two equations combined. Okay, now having this in mind, we are going to use it to plot this graph that we were given. Okay, now let's use our pencil. Now when x, and we're going to use the table of values that we already have here. When x is minus 2, y is 9. When x is minus 2, y will be 9. Okay. Now when x is minus 1, y will be 3. When x is minus 1, y will be 3. So make another plot here. Now when x is 0, y will be minus 1. Make another plot here. You've seen here now that, as I said earlier, this minus 1 is the point at which it's going to cut the y-axis. Okay, when x is 1, y will be minus 3. When x is 1, y will be minus 3. Now when x is 2, y will be minus 3 again. When x is 2, y will be minus 3. So it's still going to be this point. Okay, now when x is 3, y will be minus 1. When x is 3, y will be minus 1. And when x is 4, y will be 3. Now you've seen from what we've plotted that is actually a parabolic shape. Okay, now I'm going to turn it this way so I'll be able to draw the curve perfectly. It's actually supposed to pass through this and pass through this. Now always ensure that it's not a straight line that you're drawing. Always ensure that it's a curve. Okay, now this is our curve. It may not really be as perfect as that. Okay, most times it's advisable to use a broomstick. When you use a broomstick and you curve it and ensure that it's touching all these points, you just make your line. Okay, and it makes it easier and better for you. Now this is how you solve quadratic equations basically. Now the basic things you need to know about solving quadratic equations is that if this value is negative, okay, then it will be upside down, but if it's positive, it's going to be up, facing this way. Okay, and you always have to ensure that you make the curve perfect. Don't allow jointed lines like this. Maybe you say, okay, this is the first point and this is the second point, then use a straight line. No, it's always a curve at all times. Okay, if this is this, now you come and make one straight line here, no, it will be completely wrong. You have to ensure that it's a curve. A curve remains a curve. Okay, now another one is that ensure that you adequately plotted the lines, that the lines where, or the points where the graph touches the x-axis. There are many types of this parabolic graph. You can have ones that will actually hang this way to touch the x-axis. You can have ones that will come this way. You can have ones that will actually even come this way. Okay, and to even touch the x-axis. You can have ones that will come this way. You can even have ones that will come this way. Okay, there are different types of this parabolic shape. You just have to focus on the value you've been given and work with it, and you'll be able to get your correct answer. That's it for quadratic graphs.